Should we start with the 2024 redraft?
Let's do it.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
That's the one I'm feeling the most.
I love it.
And this is always hard because even though it's only been 1 year, I feel like I'm forgetting people.
I know.
It shouldn't be that hard.
There's so many good players in this draft, though. That's the difficult thing.
Yeah. So we are going to redraft the top 10 of the 2024 draft now that we have a year of knowledge on a lot of these guys. Some of them didn't play for various reasons. And we should really be clear on how we're framing it. Are we imagining it to be, if the draft was held again today, this is the order they go in, rather than a ranking of the 10 players who perform the best this year? Is that similar to how you were thinking?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that fits. And if you want to get in the chat too and ask us some questions, I know people are very interested in sort of ranking this year's crop against last year's crop and trying to compare them. That's always a little bit difficult to do, but we'll try and do that as best we can too. If you've got any questions in that space, I know people are interested in that as well. So Richmond at pick 1, they took Samuel Lawler.
I should actually get the real draft up here as well.
It's a good point. I think we can pretty much remember the top 10 though, but
yeah,
get it up anyway. Just for
it's the bids that might.
The bids are they can throw you a little bit. Sam Lawler at pick 1. I thought he was absolutely incredible in his first season in the AFL. If it wasn't for those hamstring injuries, I think he would have been a real shout at the rising star. His best football was better than any of these guys. He's just the perfect player. He's big and physical and explosive, and he's got beautiful kicking skills, kicks big goals, he's clutch, he's a leader, he's got it all, and you can see why Richmond took him at pick 1 for me.
I don't think there's any argument against that. I don't think, I think as well, you consider the upside when you're taking a player with pick 1, and Sam Lawler has demonstrated that in spades. And the other contenders for pick 1 were guys like Sullivan, Jagger Smith, who did an ACL, Levi Ashcroft. I suppose you can consider him broadly a contender, even though he was an academy type player. But I think Lawler's only like solidified his spot at pick 1 as opposed to anything else.
Yeah. The only thing that you could bring up if you're making an argument against Lawler at 1 is I'd be slightly nervous if I was a Richmond fan about his body. That's it.
True.
That's it. I mean, if these hamstring injuries continue to happen and the first 3 to 4 years of his career just gets held back, it's difficult for him, obviously. But we hope that doesn't happen. He's an unbelievable player. Similarities
to George Wardlaw in that sense.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah. And I have those fears as a North Melbourne fan. So North were on the board at pick 2. Now, this was probably one of the most famous picks of that draft. I remember in the lead up, there was a lot of rumour and innuendo that they were going to trade it. Heavily linked to Alex Tyru. Do you think 1 year on, they're happy with the player that they picked, or do you think they would do something differently?
It's always tough when you're thinking about like reimagining how a pick went because you have to give up the player that you selected.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
And I feel like
I had this too.
It's harsh to give up on a Finn O'Sullivan, who I think, looks like a really good player. I think, as you highlighted earlier in this show, the only real knock on him was probably just that he got the ball 18 times a game and not 26 or 25. But other than that, from an attributes point of view, like he's well-rounded, he's balanced between inside and out, he's good overhead.
Goals.
Kicks goals, can play on a forward flank or a half-back flank, good overhead for a smaller midfielder, and he's just got it all. That being said, I have really taken a liking to Alex Tyru.
Oh,
and
say it.
I think there's certainly an argument, like if you take the emotion out of it, I think there's a strong argument for North taking Alex Tyru in a redraft. In reality, obviously, these things don't happen. So, you have to take the emotion out of it. But Alex Tyru, I think, would be a worthy pick too.
I agree. I actually agree with you. So I've got the same on my list. And this is great because I love Finn O'Sullivan. But North he's versatile enough to be different. So I think he's a worthy pick too on that level. But I know that North really, really, really liked Alex Tyru. And I just feel like they should have gone across this entire period with their drafting. They just haven't gone with their conviction enough.
Yeah.
And I think if you really, really liked him, just take him at pick 2. And he would have been that really athletic defender that we need. So
position of need too.
Position of need. I was disappointed with that, which is, again, it was strange because I rated Finn O'Sullivan so highly, so I was happy to get him to the club and I love him. But yeah, Tyru at pick 2, I got the same.
Yeah, nice. So we moved to Carlton, who took Murphy Reid. Sorry, they didn't. They took Jagger Smith.
Spoiler.
I suck at presenting. Carlton took Jagger Smith originally. They wish they took Murphy Reid. Naturally, Jagger has done an ACL and we still have Sullivan on the board. Look, again, this is a redraft, not a ranking of performance. So Jagger Smith can still, be redrafted here. It just becomes really hard to factor him against players who now have a year of exposure at AFL level. And we've seen, exceptional players like a Murphy Reid, hypothetically, really, shoot themselves into this top 3 consideration. So I'm not too sure what would actually happen on a redraft because Jagger Smith obviously had an incredible top age year and was, winning 50 possession games, I think, on at least, a couple of times breached 45, I reckon.
Incredible player.
That being said, I think Murphy Reid's performance this year will have him being a consideration at pick 2, let alone pick 3 here for Carlton. So I had Murphy Reid being redrafted at 3 to Carlton.
Interesting. So I don't think Murphy Reid, as much as his season was incredible, I don't think he's actually moved the needle. I mean, he's moved the needle significantly, but I don't think it would get him picked at pick 3. Now, I know Carlton fans are going to say, like, we're totally happy with Jagger Smith here, but this is for the point of the exercise, right? We have had that year of exposure, so we know, and it can, on some level, it can hold players back, the fact that they've missed a full year of football. Not necessarily. Jagger might come in, win the Rising Star, and we're having a different conversation at the end of the year. But I think with the knocks on this guy that I've got at number 3 and the season that he's put together in 2024, I reckon you'd have to go Harvey Langford.
Possibly. Like the knock on Murphy Reid, I would say, is probably positional, and the fact that he is less likely than, say, a Harvey Langford to become a full-time midfielder, and therefore does he win enough of the footy over the course of his career to be as impactful as a midfielder who wins it 25 to 30 times? Does that make sense? I think Reid might be a little bit sidelined by his role. So I can see the argument. I just think that Murphy Reid's talent and class really would shoot him up into these rankings. Harvey Langford, I think, could be there. And we are talking about an even draft pool. I actually still had other midfielders drafted in the draft before Harvey Langford. I also factor in the ready-madeness of a Harvey Langford.
Okay.
Not necessarily against a Reid, but just in general. And I think the physical development that he has and maybe some athletic limitations might, over time, see some of these other guys drafted ahead of him.
I thought he was going to have a lot more trouble. I suppose this is the way that I'm looking at it. I expected him to get just caught on the ball a lot more, and that physical prowess that he had at Coates League and champs and stuff like that would be gone at AFL level, and it's just not. He still looks just as physical, and he's just made that jump so seamlessly, I feel. So he's got, like, the points of difference with Harvey Langford are obviously his size. So he's got extra reach on players in the midfield, but he's also got amazing kicking skills as well. And he runs to the right spot, so he picks up plenty of ball around the field, kicks goals when he goes forward, and he's a marking threat as well. So he's I sort of had him in that group where you had like Josh Smiley and Bo Allen, and there was this sort of group of like tall midfielders. I think he's clearly set himself apart from those guys now after one season in the AFL.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Again, we are splitting hairs with some of these evenly rated midfield prospects, and I did sort of maybe count Harvey Langford's physical stature maybe against him, compared to, say, a Sullivan who is probably further away from the real thing. Are you laughing at me or
no? The comments.
The comments. Yeah.
Comments. Luke Retch, I think it is, says, "Why does Dylan have so much hatred towards Freo?" I absolutely don't. I've never thought about Freo up until this year. Yeah. And I think the only thing I try and do with Freo is play a bit of devil's advocate to Druzy. Yeah. Because he's such a big fan, obviously. The Murphy Reid, I mean, I think it's reasonable to still say that Murphy Reid would be like a little bit back still, even though he was incredible. I mean, the person who wins the Rising Star doesn't always turn out to be the best player. Yeah,
Lewis Taylor is a good example of that.
Yes.
I feel pretty confident Murphy Reid is a better player than Lewis Taylor was.
Yes.
And I was the one who redrafted him at pick 3. I do, however, think that over time some of these midfielders have a bigger development curve and therefore could get back.
I think there's an element with Murphy Reid where it was like right place, right time, perfect situation.
Yeah, like if he goes to a different club with a different performance level, say a West Coast who picked one pick before that, I don't think he wins the Rising Star, but I still think he will be a very, very good player.
Woody's just said there, no, you're spot on. Till told me off stream once he hates Freo the most. That never happened. That actually never happened. So Adelaide Crows at pick 4. They obviously took Sid Draper, local boy, homeboy. Would they do anything different? I mean, obviously we have seen limited stuff of Sid Draper this year. Mostly played Sandford, but he did have some substitute performances as well. What do you reckon?
Well, it's nothing against Sid Draper. He was one of my faves last year, and it's an even draft pool. But 2 players that were not available last year are available in this scenario. Jagger Smith, they apparently really liked, and Finn O'Sullivan's there. Yes. I actually had Adelaide taking Finn O'Sullivan with this selection. Okay, nice.
Cut a long story short.
Yeah, cool. We already kind of talked about him. Again, I think compared to a Langford, I think there is maybe a little more upside in terms of how much he can improve. And once he gets to that level as playing like a full-time midfielder, I think Langford's a little bit closer to his ceiling than an O'Sullivan is.
I agree with that.
That's my assessment. But it's line ball as well because Langford is good.
I sort of had that thing with, I think they're different. I think Finn O'Sullivan can probably give you more like polish in the long term, but I feel like Harvey Langford, you can sort of build a team around him as that big bullocking inside mid, and he does have those attributes on the side. So I thought for Carlton, given where they're at now, I reckon 12 months ago though, if we'd have had the season a year before and Carlton was sort of where they were at, if this is making any sense, I wouldn't have pinned them to Harvey Langford because they had too many similar types, but they're sort of in this rebuild now. So I'm picturing Harvey Langford with Cody Walker types, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I can't really say Jagger Smith because they're not taking him in this draft anymore.
Yeah, good point.
Sort of tied myself in knots there.
I thought you landed the plane. That was good. It made sense.
Foss to Adelaide. And then we've got 5 Brisbane. This one was pretty easy and just went Levi Ashcroft again.
Yeah, well, it's only their pick if they match a bid for Ashcroft. So I think Ashcroft around about here makes sense. He was taken or bid after a Finn O'Sullivan and he had a great debut season. I think it helps he's playing in a Brisbane Lions setup, and I do wonder what Finn O'Sullivan could have achieved this year if he'd played at the Brisbane Lions, for instance. So I'm going to retain the ranking of Foss and then Ashcroft, but Ashcroft retains his spot.
I think Ashcroft was clearly the most ready-made player coming into this season as well. Like I did some fantasy content and obviously Ashcroft bodes really well for fantasy as well. And he just has that body. And I always said that as long as he ties up a position at the Lions, he'll be one of the better players coming through in his first, second, third year. So he just had to get in the team. And once he did, he was absolutely fine. And big game player as well. Like that. Do you remember on grand final day where he just lined up that goal, went around the guy on the mark, and I'm like, he's going to kick this.
Yeah, that's true.
I just knew it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable player. Just so efficient. And you can just see the way that he prepares himself and trains, that he always gets the best out of himself. I think there's a conversation that like he's not the highest upside player, but I think he's like going to have one of the most consistent careers in this crop.
One thing that he and his brother Will have in common is they don't look on the eye to be super damaging players, but then you give them this opportunity in a big moment and they make you pay.
Just so clean.
It's hard to quantify.
So clean. Yeah, totally. Very technical players and also physical as well. I think that, like, I reckon Will gets that because he's got the, nice long blonde hair. So he's kind of seen as a bit more of a silky outside player, but he's not.
True.
He's in the trenches for sure. A lot of love here. We've got Man Without Plans saying Zach Johnson at 6, surely. Maybe a bit too much of a climb there.
Have him in 11. No, not really.
Good player. Who you got next?
I had the Melbourne Football Club redrafting Harvey Langford here.
Okay, so I had Murphy Reid here.
Okay.
So we've flipped them.
Yeah. We've kind of both talked about those players, so we can probably move on. But I guess to underscore it, I would just say again, I think Foss and Ashcroft maybe or particularly Foss, have a little bit more upside than a Langford. But I could be wrong on that. It's very, very tight.
It's funny because my argument would be the same about Murphy Reid, that those others have a bit more upside on him.
That's true.
But kind of putting him in there on performance. And I have gone Richmond, initially with this pick, took Josh Smiley, who we haven't seen because of injury. I'm taking Taj Houghton here.
Wow. So am I mistaken, or do you have Jagger Smith still on the board and you've taken Taj Houghton over him?
Yes.
You said that.
Yes, no,
that's right.
No, that is correct.
No, that's fine. Yep. I just wanted to clarify that.
I thought I'd made a mistake there.
Yeah, I could tell by your face you thought you made a mistake, but you're happy with that ranking.
No, that's okay.
Okay, I went Richmond drafting Jagger Smith. 2 players who did an ACL. For the record, or maybe I can just say that I had Taj Houghton the very next pick. So I have Richmond 7, Jagger Smith.
Do you know what? It's hard to get out of your head in this situation that Richmond got Taj Houghton anyway. So in their heads, they'd be like, well, yeah, I'll just take Jagger because we're getting Taj Houghton later anyway.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's true. Look, I think Jagger, it's just hard to compare him against guys we've seen for a year. I was really impressed with Taj Hotton's debut season, considering he was coming off an ACL and, I presume didn't have a full preseason.
He was incredible.
Yeah, and I think in hindsight, maybe Richmond would take Hotton first before they take Smiley. I definitely agree with that. But Jagger Smith also does have the great resume, and I do have pretty good confidence he's going to come back from that ACL pretty well. I just thought he retains his spot over Taj, who I had at pick 8. Do you have the same plays in the other order?
In the next few picks. Or
so you have Taj Hotton here at Richmond.
I got Taj Hotton at Richmond, and then I went next
Jagger Smith.
With Jagger
That's
Smith.
what I mean. So we've just gone the opposite.
Yeah,
there.
so the Saints here initially went Toby Travalia.
Okay.
At pick 8.
Yeah.
That's not including, I think there was a bid for, I think actually 8 was Leo Lombard.
Okay, yeah.
And then the Saints went into Toby Travalia. I've got them then taking Jagger Smith, who I think would just be just a winner in their midfield, I think. And you've pretty much covered it with Jagger Smith. I think he had one of the best resumes of the season. I think he's probably one of the most, of all of those midfielders, as far as like volume and accumulation and stuff like that. And just he was so good at just getting his hands on the ball from stoppage. I don't think he's the most damaging player, but he just gets it and he's well-rounded and has the volume and everything like that mids need, ultimately.
Yeah, great option for a team sort of starting their rebuild for the midfield as well.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he would have been perfect for West Coast.
Yeah, fair enough. St Kilda, as I said, took Taj Hotton. So then I guess we look at St Kilda's second pick. Is that who you have next?
I went Jonty Fall.
Jonty Fall. That is interesting. I went Sid Draper, just retaining his ranking. I mean, he went pick 4 on the actual night.
Yeah.
And again, it's an even draft pool in the same way we haven't seen much of Jagger Smith. We haven't seen much of Sid Draper. But I still think a very talented prospect. But talk to me about Jonty Fall.
I've gone with Jonty Fall. I just think of all of those key position forwards, he's made... I don't know if even necessarily his output is more than those other guys, but I just like the way that he attacks the ball. I think he's got a competitiveness level that just overreaches those other guys. And I think he's an unspectacular player, but someone that you can build a forward line around because of the work rate and the amount of contests that he gets to and just how much he brings the ball to ground. So I think Richmond recruited incredibly well in getting him a little bit higher than what most people expected. And they did that because of those traits and the fact that he can bring other players into the game, which is a big thing for key forwards these days.
Jonty Fall was a big reach on the night as well. Went pick 12, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And I think was...
14.
Maybe 14, yeah.
But it was higher than expected.
Yeah, I think even in the like top 25. Like Sydney, I think were linked to him in like 25, 26 or something back. Right before the draft.
I think there was... So like Sydney had the Detoli pick in the teens and GWS had a pick too. And I think both of those clubs were keen on him.
That's what it was, yeah. Yeah, Phoenix says that as well. We got Fall earlier than predicted because Swans were interested in him.
Yep.
There you go. It looks like possibly the best key forward in the draft.
Yeah, I just love his attack on the ball. Again, like I said, he's not the most smooth-looking player.
Sure.
But he's just hard at it.
Nice.
Did you go there?
I went Sid Draper. Just retaining his rank. There's not much to say on his performance this year, but I liked him and, I don't want to discriminate against him too much because he didn't play in a very strong Adelaide side that won the minor premiership. At pick 10, I had Leo Lombard as a bid staying with the Gold Coast Suns. I think that he might actually be a little bit underrated. I think he has a lot of upside for a smaller midfielder there. And we saw him a little bit at AFL level this year. Again, another team that's hard to break into. And I think he would be the next highest rated prospect. Who did you have?
Totally agree. I had Leo Lombard as well.
Nice.
So, yeah, it worked out perfectly there. I agree. And I think he was even underrated last year. He won the Lark medal. He and Harvey Langford.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Joint Lark medalists. That's right.
So had a great champs, had a really good season, pretty much played at every level and played really well. Just physically ready for the AFL. And I think if he played at... Well... See, I reckon he would have got into that Gold Coast team this season if it wasn't for injuries. He just had a very interrupted year. Like in the preseason, he had that big hit with Levi Ashcroft and he hurt his shoulder. So then that affected his preseason, obviously, and coming into round 1. And then I think he did get a game at some point and then he got injured again. So it was kind of very disrupted.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of traits. Like he can accumulate the footy. He's got explosive speed, can play on different lines because of that as well. So I really like Lombard there. Any other ones to talk about?
I think we can just gloss over a few players that were around the mark that we didn't include in our top 10. So Josh Smiley, again, he went pick 7. I just think that maybe my own opinion going into the draft, I kind of liked some of the other midfielders first. And him going at 7 was a little bit of a surprise. I still would probably prefer a Draper and a Smith and a Taj Houghton. And then, Tyru has bolted as well.
When you say it was a surprise that he went at 7, you expected him to go later?
Yeah. But I think it makes sense from the Richmond point of view where you're building a balanced midfield. Yeah. And you go Lawler, Houghton and Smiley. That makes perfect sense to me. I do wonder if there were 18 teams or 10 teams having one pick each, whether Smiley goes in the same spot. I don't know. That was just my opinion, which maybe I'm carrying that into a little bit of this ranking. I didn't have him in my top 10 and he also didn't play. Xavier Lindsay, good player, just not quite on the level of a Lombard or a Draper or a Smith rather.
Yep.
I did have Jonty fall in my contenders. I think he's pushing it. Travalia and Trainer and Kako, other talented players in the first round who had pretty good first seasons, but not ultimately enough to crack it.
Yeah, I just want to see Trainer, for me to crack him into the top 10. Like he's still playing that more distributor role.
Yeah.
So I think he needs that. We need to see a bit more from him as a lockdown defender, and we probably need to see what he can do maybe up the ground as well. So he's kind of had a nice cruisy role, a la Harry Sheasel in his first season, just picking up the ball at halfback. Great season, but I still not enough to put him into that 10.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. You said that perfectly. I didn't really seriously consider training for that reason. It's role based.
You've got some late bolters here too.
I think these are some players that on first glance have exceeded their draft position, and it speaks to the depth of.
There's a flavour here too. There's a flavour.
Oh, what Eagles players?
A couple, yeah.
There's two
out of 6 or 7.
7, yeah. Well, tell me where I'm wrong, Dylan.
I think the Jobe Shanahan one's fair. I'm not sure why Hamish Davis is on this list.
I think he looks a lot better than pick 66 suggests, and I think that there was players taking in the 40s that he looks immediately better than, and I think that he slid way further than he should have.
He did slide.
So that was my logic. Yeah, and it's also relative to his position.
Yes.
I'm not saying he's a top 10 bolter.
No.
So don't think that I am.
So who else have you got?
So Shanahan is someone who immediately has exceeded 30. And in fact, I wonder if he'd go before Bo Allen in a redraft.
I mean, he was a clear slider.
Yeah.
As well.
That's true.
I think he was one that was expected to be taken on night 1. Did he actually go to the draft? Was he one of the ones that was left without a partner?
I'm not sure.
At the dance?
He was at the draft?
Yeah, he was.
I actually don't remember that.
He didn't go. I know Jack Whitlock was another one in that boat.
Yeah.
Obviously always would make you feel a little bit sad, but yeah, no, he was definitely expected to go in at the minimum at the 20s. Other people had him close to the top 10.
Yeah,
coming into the draft as well. So a big one, and his performances look more like that top 10 pick.
Yeah. There was a suggestion, I think, that obviously West Coast traded 14 for Baker. Had they held 12 and 14 on the night, they might have gone Allen and then Shanahan at 14.
Yeah.
In the end, we get him at 30, so it makes that trade a little bit better.
It's a funny one, that West Coast draft, isn't it? Because West Coast came out of it. It felt like you got so many sliders, and it meant that it made the draft feel better and then take away. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. It was an even draft pool, which helps us a little bit. I also highlighted Christian Moraes at pick 38 has exceeded that draft position. I think that's a really good...
He was a slider too.
That's true. Yep. Had some questions around ball use, I think, in his draft year or his top age year, and I think has, in a redraft goes much higher than 38. We saw some good signs from Angus Clark, who went 39.
I think he looks mustard.
Is that good?
Yes.
Is that to go with the sliders?
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Good one. I don't know, was it a compliment?
No. Angus Clark just looks great.
Yeah.
I think he looks one of the most sensational players in this crop.
He looks like absolute shortbread.
He does.
Just making up words at this point. Angus Clark at 39. I thought Hugh Boxall at 45. I think it was a good value pick.
Yes.
I think we were actually saying in the chat before we actually hit live, I wonder where Boxall would go this year to compare the depth of the draft, and I think maybe top 25.
It's a good shout. I suppose a question you could ask about two similar players, you could say, is there that much of a difference between what Boxall's doing and what, say, Cooper Hines is doing? I think Boxall's probably looking like he's even further ahead of like a Cooper Hines, who went around that 20 mark in the end to the Dogs. So, yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good one. You got Sam Davidson there?
I do have Sam Davidson in there as a player who exceeded his draft position at 51. Look, Hamish Davis, I did put in here just because I think he's much better than that. Like, for instance, his first season was much better than a Luca Grego or maybe even a Tom Gross.
Okay.
So that was my logic. I think 66 is a bargain.
Better than Tom Gross, do you reckon?
I think he might have played more games in the end and probably impacted more.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You know your Eagles better than I do.
That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I saw Tom Gross the other day at the gym.
Did you?
Yeah. Funnily enough, actually, I will tell the story very quickly.
Oh, he's back in Melbourne.
Yeah. I was at the gym and I got recognised as True Eagle. Some nice gentleman came over and said hello.
I believe it now.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it's like not True Footy. It was True Eagle when we're here in Melbourne.
Gotcha.
The literal, we chatted for about 5 minutes. The literal second he walked out, Tom Gross walked in. And I need to know, did that guy see that an Eagles player walked in to this small gym where there's like 5 people in there? There's literally about 5 people in there. An Eagles player walked in immediately after. What are the odds of that?
He must live somewhere near there because I don't want to dox him or anything on here, but
yes.
in
Bendigo.
In that,
That's where I live.
Got into a weird space there. And you've got the other one you've got on here is Zach Johnson.
Yeah. Again, pick 70, same logic, far exceeded that value, I think.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Again, speaks to the quality of the draft last year when we're talking about depth, that a Zach Johnson goes at pick 70. This year, we might get 45 total picks.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he was such a good, consistent performer across the season. And you always watch that Northern Knights team and he looked like such a leader from the back half, just conducting, telling other players what to do. So I think Essendon got a really good one there. That's actually, I got a story there too. Like I was on the draft night and Nate Caddy was talking to somebody near me and he was saying that he was there to see Zach Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was like, Essendon's going to draft him.
Yeah, wow.
If you're looking at that draft, that 2024 draft, is there anyone that you're thinking in that top end that you're a bit scared about? Negatively, like
I'm worried about
them taken high.
Oh, I think you immediately just go to the top prospects you haven't seen play at the level yet, and that would, like, my mind goes to Sid Draper.
See, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about Jagger.
Sure.
Unless like there's complications with the knee and it just takes him like ages to play or something. Obviously, those things are kind of outside any control. But is there anyone that's probably played a bit, had the opportunity to play that hasn't played, and that worries you?
I suppose Sid Draper and Josh Smiley are the two in the top 10 that description fits. They could have played and they didn't.
What about, say, like a Toby Travaglia, who was pretty much fit for the entire season?
Yeah.
Couldn't break into that side consistently.
Let's find out how many games he played, because I thought he played a decent.
He played a bit. Yeah, he played a bit. He debuted earlier than Tyru.
Okay.
But probably didn't hit the heights.
Yeah.
It's incredibly early.
12 games, yeah.
12 games, yeah, okay.
With Travaglia, I wouldn't say I had a strong opinion on his performance this year. I suppose there was always some doubt because he's sort of described as that Will Day midfielder, potentially, that he'll transition to. There's always a doubt that a player becomes an actual stoppage player.
There's a bigger growth there that has to take place for him to actually be his full form.
Yeah. So could he be a daring, running defender? Like, he could be a good one. Obviously, his ball use isn't super crash hot, in my opinion. It can be a bit erratic. So I think he'll need to dial that in or develop another position. But I wouldn't say I'm concerned for him at this early stage, to be honest.
No, that's fair. Any concern for Beau
Allen? For him, it's probably about role. He's got some really nice traits and he just didn't have any continuity this year and playing in a terrible team. I would say that he's far from a sure thing to be a really good player because I don't even know what the plan is for him positionally. Is he a running intercept defender? Or is he a crash and bash midfielder? It remains to be seen. I think he probably does need to become a midfielder to make it. Because I think maybe we've discussed it because I know what you're going to say. Is it the ball use from the back half that isn't good enough? I suppose I made that point about Travaglia to make it as a pure running defender.
I think he's similar to Travaglia in that sense, in that the growth, like his potential is high, but there's a lot more water to go under the bridge for him to get there. So it's just, and it's difficult again. It's like the team that he's gone to, he can't really just come in and have he's got to kind of, he's the top pick that Eagles had in that super draft. So he's kind of got to do more straight away, I feel. So he doesn't get the luxury of just playing and sort of easing into the side, which I think is another factor.